Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworkers podcast. So, I haven't been up to a great deal. That's probably due to the fact I haven't had any orders, although a couple of days ago I did pick up a new order, which I'm very grateful for. I have spent some time pretty much building a website. That's more geared towards sales of me furniture, so it doesn't really apply to anyone that's listening. Well, I wouldn't think so in any way. For anyone that is interested though, I have actually got a blog. I haven't wrote in it for quite some time, but it's not something I really advertise a lot. Some of it's quite detailed. Some of the articles I haven't wrote for a while. Sometimes I do like to write. Sometimes I get like spells, where I just like to write. Unfortunately, I haven't had one of those spells for over a year now. But I kind of am getting itchy hands, if you like. So I do feel there's going to be some more blogging coming up. It's kind of the same with everything. It just depends on how much time I get and how much enthusiasm I've got to do something. But if you check out the link in my Linktree link, I have actually added it for those that are curious or would like to read. There is bits and bobs. I have covered bits and bobs, but obviously some of the articles will probably be outdated. Like some of the techniques I used a couple of years ago, obviously they've changed a bit since then. Obviously I do evolve and try to make me work better, more efficient, and so on. So I've done a video. I didn't mention it last week. It wasn't released the time the podcast was out. I think when the podcast come out on Sunday morning, I think I uploaded the video. It was maybe tea time. That's dinner time to everybody else. I think on the Sunday. But anyway, in case you missed it, I did do a video. It was just a simple coat hanger, nothing special, but it is actually the topic of the podcast today. Not the coat hanger itself, but more of the how to cope with pieces of material that are hard to clamp, and small pieces, basically how to work small pieces. That's pretty much going to be the topic of today. Also, if you're interested, I should be doing a chisel plane build. I've been promising myself I was going to make myself one of these for a long time, and this is basically just to get into the corners of basically inside corners. If I'm putting a little chamfer, or even just taking the arras off. If I just want to take the arras off a bit more than what I would usually take, or what's usually what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically, if I want to get a bit more of a chamfer than what you would be able to with sandpaper, so on the inside corners, because I do actually just use my little loofahs plane, but obviously that can't get right into the corners, so this is where the chisel plane is going to be coming in. So keep your eyes open for that if you want to check it out. Hopefully in the next few days I should have that video uploaded. I haven't actually started building the thing yet, but I am going to take a bit of time out and get it, because I've been promising myself for ages. So as I said, today's podcast is going to be the subject of just creating small pieces or small objects, working with small pieces basically. So in reference, if you watch the video with the coat hanger, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. If I lose you anything, even if you just quickly flick through it, you'll grasp what I'm talking about. So these are just kind of some pointers what I'll kind of do, what I find really helpful when I'm working with smaller pieces. Now, to be honest with you, I do actually shy away from working with or rather creating smaller pieces. You know, those guys and girls that create doll houses, and they make tiny little beds and cabinets, where these cabinets, some of them have got hinges and everything on them. It's absolutely phenomenal. But when you look at them, or at least I did when I looked at it, I thought, yeah, it's pretty impressive, but I could do that. It's not an issue. Until you actually try to do something small like that. And me personally, I got humbled. I got humbled a lot. So I kind of know, and I would kind of easily state that for you to make something small, it's a bit of an art form in itself, just to be able to work things that are so small. So I've got much respect for people that do actually do those type of things, basically just anything that's small, no matter what it is. It's hard to do. So a lot of respect for those people I have. So one of the things I'll do when I am creating something small, I'll actually keep it as big as possible, as long as possible, as bulky as possible, for as long as possible. That might sound a little bit contradictory. Obviously, you are making something small. So in the case of the coat hanger, again, if you have a little look at the video, I start off making the hooks first, or they're not actually hooks, they're more hanger. Just the hanger. I'm going to call it the hanger section. So I start making the hanger section first. So what I started with was some oak. I basically ripped a strip of oak and I planed it up. So my beginning piece for the hanger was I think it was somewhere in the region of was about 600, 700 millimeters in length, and it was just basically three quarters of an inch squared, and that was it. So basically, I marked out for the first hanger, and I just removed as much material as possible. So on one edge, I created a bevel, and then on the opposite side, I created another bevel. Again, this is a little bit confusing, but if you have a flick through the video, you'll see what I'm getting at. But on the other side, when I'm creating a bevel at its full size, so basically these hangers were approximately they were 100 millimeters, and basically they got halved, so 50 millimeters down from the top to the middle. Obviously it had a bevel on, and then on the other side, it had another bevel on. But instead of actually cutting all the way through, I actually left, I think it was about 5 millimeters, and I didn't actually touch any more, and basically I just started shaping it. And like I say, I done as much as I possibly could. Same again, if you check the video out, I'm actually, while it's still connected, I'm basically sitting on it. I think I've got it. Sometimes I've got a clamp, sometimes I'm just sitting on it, and sometimes I'm doing a bit of both. And it's just really, really helpful, because anyone that's done this will know, as soon as you cut something down to size, and then you start to hold it, it just gets fiddly, basically. Sometimes your hands are getting in the way. If your hands are in the way and you're using sharp tools, it's never a good combination. It's always good for you to be able to get your hands out of the way, especially if you're using, a chisel you've just sharpened. If that chisel goes into your hand, it's going to go all the way through your hand if you put enough pressure on it. You don't really want a chisel going through your hand, do you? So, as I said, obviously when it was still attached to, I hadn't cut anything to length. I done everything I could, everything that was possible. obviously I used the plane. I created two chamfers at either side. Not chamfers, bevels. So basically, the top of the hanger section, the first half of it, that had a bevel on like all four sides. It didn't really need it, but it was just more visual. It looked, to me, it looked like nice. And then obviously all the corners, they were slightly rounded off. Same again, while it was still attached, it was just so easy just to take me playing around all those corners, and just round them off. So with this hanger as well, it is actually fixed with two brass screws, two flathead brass screws, and some glue on the back of it. Same again, while it was still attached, all in one piece. I drilled the two holes, I countersunk the two holes, so a lot of people were probably, that weren't in the know, were probably watching the video and thinking, why hasn't he cut it yet, and obviously this is the reason why I didn't cut it. Can you imagine having something, like 100 millimeters in length, in trying to hold it while you're playing in it? Obviously I used the file as well, to round over the very edge of it. Same again, was still attached. It just makes life that much easier. It was just, it's just easy basically. If you have a look, if you're on my Instagram, have a look through my Instagram. Quite some time ago, I did an actual little frame, and this was a dovetail frame. I can't remember the exact sizes, but this little dovetail frame, this was to hold my projector, and the projector, it was basically fitted inside of the van. When I had my van, for anyone that doesn't know, I got a van and I converted the van, tongue groove cladding, put a fold out bed in it and everything, laminated floor, just a regular a camper van conversion basically. But this little projector I had, the projector itself was absolutely tiny, and obviously I made this little frame, I done dovetails on it, and it was the same again. I kept everything as big as possible or as long as possible until I literally had to cut it. I mean, with this, it was a lot easier to do this because this was a little bit bigger, but at the same time, it was difficult in the sense that, obviously you haven't got your regular sizes. For me, regular sizes, like I do a lot of house furniture, so a regular size to me is like a coffee table. Regular size to me, dovetails is same again, coffee table, because I do a lot of chests and stuff. I think in the space of like the last 360 days, I think I might have done like about 4 chests, somewhere in that region. So it is, the pieces of furniture I do make are, they're a decent size. So going from something like that, going down to this little dovetailed frame, if you like, it's kind of no bigger. It was no bigger than my hand, really, and so things like that can be a little bit tricky. So another thing, when I was actually making that, another thing I'd done was to actually sandwich the components between 2 pieces of oak, and I was actually using the peg and wedge system in my Roman workbench, and that actually worked out quite well for us. So that would be definitely something you want to look into if you're like doing something that small. I would definitely say the tools I was using as well. I mean, obviously, same again, if you check out the video, you'll see he's using me little loofahs plane, me 101 loofahs plane. It's not actually called, I just call it a loofahs plane, it's not actually called a loofahs plane. I think it's just called a small block plane. I call it the loofahs plane. It's the 101 anyway. I've talked about this plane umpteen million times. I love this little plane. It's one of my favourite planes. I think it's probably more to do with the fact that I've got really small hands, so I'm able to utilise it better than probably, someone with bigger hands or average size hands. Anyway, I totally love this little plane. So anything small like this, one of those planes is going to come in like really ideal, in my opinion anyway. So kind of the saw, when I'm sawing as well, I use me Japanese Ryoba saw. So the one, or rather the blade that I've got on it at the moment, it's kind of, could we say general purpose? Yeah, possibly general purpose, but I think the blade's kind of more set for finer work. From what I gather with the blades, you've got like a blade for cabinetry, and you've got like the next one up that's kind of general, but it is still more geared towards a cabinetry, which is the one I've got. And then I think then you've got your kind of rough general purpose, and then obviously really rough, like ripping, just rip apart the material, that's for really like rough cutting. I believe, I could be wrong, but anyway, that's the blade I've got in, like the kind of the second one from Fine. So even with that though, the point I'm making is that the teeth, they're quite even the rip section of the saw, it is actually, the teeth are actually pretty fine, although they do a good job of ripping the material quickly. So I definitely believe that the Japanese saw, or at least the finer teeth on that saw, it could be a Western saw with, that's, with fine teeth like that. I do believe that really helped. It's the same with a file as well. Same again, if you watch the video, you'll see us use a file. This is, I wouldn't say it was quite a fine, it's probably a medium file. I don't really think you could use anything too coarse with it. It's just with it being so small, and that's another issue. That's another issue when you are doing stuff like this. I mean, you've got to look at some of the tools you could use. I mean, tools. There's just some tools you just couldn't use, like point blank. I mean, even when it was in one piece, even if I started like making these pegs, and they were in its full length at 700 millimeters, I was able to clamp that piece of wood down. I mean, imagine me taking me Dorchester rip saw, which I think is like 4.5 teeth per inch, and trying to take a bevel cut off that. It's just not going to happen. It's absolutely going to destroy the end of that piece of oak. It's just going to fracture it, split it. It's just not going to end well. So obviously, I think it's common sense not to use something like that. But even if you're going to use something that's not as coarse, I still think you could do damage. So all these things just need to be taken into consideration if you are doing it. It's the same as, obviously, I've just talked about the file. I wouldn't use a Shinto rasp. I absolutely love my Shinto rasp, but I just wouldn't use a Shinto rasp on something so small like this. I just believe the Shinto rasp would possibly damage it, damage the end, with the end being so fine. I'm kind of making out that the oak's going to be all delicate and it's easily broke, and whereas reality it's not. Now that it's finished, it's not. Obviously, I hung my coat up the other day, and I was looking at the coat hanger. I was basically examining it. Me being me, I don't know why I do these sort of things, but it's quite common for me just to start like pulling at things and twisting things just to see how they hold up. I shouldn't really do it because it's tempting fate for things to break, isn't it? Really, But anyway, I do things like that. So I can confirm that the hangers themselves are like really strong. But the point I'm making is obviously when you're using like really coarse like tools or roughing tools, you are going to be more likely to to damage them. That's pretty much the point I'm trying to make. It's the same as a plane as well. Obviously, I used the 101. It's absolutely tiny. It's perfect for things like that. Same again. I think it's a little bit of common sense. You're not going to be able to use like a number 4, a number 3. I'm not too sure of the sizes of a number 1 and a number 2 Bailey's pattern. I've never actually held one in my hands. Although I did actually fancy a Bailey's number 1 just to kind of try it out, but I've never come across one. It would actually be pretty cool just to, even if I got like loaned one for like a week or so, it would be quite interesting just to use that. Like, I have actually tried to curve myself of not, not buying tools, but I think if I was to come across a number 1, I think I'd possibly have to buy it just because it's a number 1, isn't it? Okay, so clamping can work sometimes. Sometimes the things are just like too small. You can actually get a clamp on it, but it's so small that basically the clamp's in the way. So same again, if you're making anything like this or you're planning anything, just try and keep in mind that some things you're just not going to be able to hold. You're not going to be able to clamp into place, which obviously takes you back to why you should leave things as big as possible, as long as possible, as bulky as possible, so you can do the majority of the work while you're still able to clamp it. So you'll be able to get, basically you can get the clamps like well away from the area that you're working on, and your clamps aren't going to foul you. Obviously sometimes you can get away with it. When I was making the hanger section, I did actually try to put a clamp on it. When I'd actually cut the piece, I'd shaped as much as I could when it was all still one piece, and then obviously I had to cut the first hanger piece off. That was a little bit tricky, difficult, and I did try to clamp it, and I think as well what made it a bit of an issue, I suppose, is that obviously all the corners were rounded off, and it had a bevel. So obviously when you try to clamp a bevel, obviously you can't really do it. It doesn't want to be clamped because it's a bevel, and it just it's too easy to slide out. So I did actually try doing that. Didn't work out too great, so I just persevered, and you'll see in the video I did actually just hold it. I ended up putting it against the dog, and you can see it's a little bit awkward the way I'm doing it. You can definitely see it's awkward, and it was a little bit awkward. I mean, when I was doing it, I was just using some quick release clamps. I was taking the protective plastic pieces off. I mean, to be honest with you, most of the plastic pieces are, they're not on me clamps, to be honest. But I do believe certain things like this, people have actually made, purposely built clamps. So if you're going to do, if you're planning on doing like, a lot of builds where, there's a lot of small stuff, it might be worth you, building these sort of clamps. I mean, some of the clamps I've seen for this are the type where it'll be 2 sections of wood, maybe whatever size you kind of want, because I have seen different sizes. I mean, and it's kind of ranged from people that have actually wrapped string around one end, put a bolt through it with a wing nut on, and obviously just opened it up, grabbed what they needed to grab, then obviously just tightened the wing nut up. There is a correct name for this type of clamp. For the life of us, I can't remember what you call them. The more common of this clamp is actually to put a hinge on one side or another bolt. Same again, then put a bolt and a wing nut, maybe about halfway up. And they'll put like a bit of a jaw on it, so there's a bit of a gap in between, which obviously grips the piece a bit better rather than the two edges being flat and on the same angle. I can't really remember the name of them, but as I said, those are specific. I have seen people specifically make small clamps for that. So when you are clamping stuff as well, it can be beneficial for you to actually clamp the clamp, if that makes sense. So you've clamped your piece of material, what you're working on, and then you clamp to the bench. So that clamp that's holding the material can move anywhere. Probably another good thing, although I should have actually done this in the video now that I think of it, and obviously it just didn't occur to us at the time. When I was basically had a hold of the 100mm piece hanger, length of the hanger, and I was planing it, it probably would have been better for me to put some rubber matting down. I've banged on about this a few times. It's basically just a non-slip mat. I use them pretty much all the time. Ironically, as I've just said, it just didn't occur to us to put the non-slip mat down. I think that would have been a lot better for me. Again, I think that could possibly help a lot of people out when you're like kind of doing something like this. So those little mats anyway, they should, they're not to be shunned. Personally, I think anyway, because they have got me out of a few sticky situations, shall we say. Another thing I've done in the past is to actually glue things down, or glue pieces to another piece of wood, basically to extend the length of it, allowing us to clamp it down. So you're obviously not going to be able to use the likes of wood glue, your typical PVA, or your even hide glue. I mean, because you're actually going to have to wait for it to dry. It's just not kind of... you could do it, but you're just going to have to wait. But I think the thing with if you're going to be using PVA glue, it's not going to come off easy. You could probably get it off. You'd probably get it off and damage it. Even if you used a small little dab of it, you run the risk of damaging it. It's just not worth the time and effort to do that. So for me, in the past, I've super glued things down. The type of super glue you'll get for it's sold as kind of like a mitre kit or a mitre glue up kit sort of thing. It's just got you've got your super glue and then you've got your accelerator. Basically, that's what I kind of buy. It's sold as like a mitre glue kit. Honest, you haven't like got it doesn't come with a saw or anything. It's just the glue and the accelerator. But I think that's quite handy because it will hold it. It'll hold it quite well actually. In a couple of taps of a hammer, and it should come off quite cleanly. You'll probably have to give it a little sand or a plane or whatever, just to get the excess super glue off. But that works pretty well. A glue gun. I have used this in the past, although it's been a very long time since I've used a glue gun. I think I still have one somewhere kicking about. I haven't seen it for... must be well over a year since I last seen it. I can't even remember the last time I used it, to be honest. It's not really often that I'll use a glue gun, but that can be quite good. It's the same again. You're going to be able to just pull it off or tap it off with a hammer and peel the excess glue off, and it's not going to damage the wood. It's quick, it's easy, it's the same as a super glue. It's going to set in like a couple of minutes. You're going to be ready to go to do what you want to do. There's kind of no way of getting around it, to be honest. In retrospect of working with small pieces, it's just going to be fiddly. In my experience, anyway. Obviously I can't speak for everybody, but in my experience, I don't know if I should use the word difficult. I think I'm going to use the word difficult because I do find working with small pieces difficult. It might just be the fact that I don't do it enough. If I did do it a little bit more, I probably wouldn't use the word difficult. It's definitely awkward. Obviously that goes without saying. And as I said at the start of this podcast, I've got much respect for people that do small things. It's quite hard. So I think I'm going to pretty much wrap it up today, guys. A bit of a short one. If you have got anything that you want us to talk about, leave a comment, please do. It would be great if you could help us out with a topic I can talk about on the next podcast. I'd like to say a massive thank you as well. This has been happening for the last couple of months now. The YouTube's grown massively, so big thank you to everyone that subscribed to us on YouTube. Me Instagram, me Facebook, even the podcast. There's more people listening to the podcast every week, so just a massive thank you to everyone that's took the time to listen, to watch me videos, to look at me posts. I really appreciate your time. As I said, it's much appreciated. So as I say, when I do ask you what you want to hear and what you want to see, I would really appreciate it if you kind of let us know what you want to see and hear. After all, I'm kind of doing it for all yous to listen to or to view, so I'd rather to do things what you want to listen and what you want to hear, if that makes listen and view, sorry. So as I said, don't be shy, let us know, leave a comment on my social media, send us an email. There's links to everything, so if you click that Linktree link, it'll give you all my content. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. So until the next time, I'll speak to you later.